Would you rather never be able to listen to music again or never be able to smell again?
Oh, never be able to smell again.
I am of the same front there. And I've got reasons. So yep, I'm
Yeah.
right there with you today, Ains.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to Second Saturday, the podcast where every Sunday feels like a Saturday.
This is episode 62, and I'm Ainsley.
And this is Jen.
And today we're doing another Lodge Life deep dive. It's been a while. Been a hot minute.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be talking a little bit about the ice haul, because that's a very unique situation.
Ice baby, it is. Yeah, I don't think this really happens very much anywhere. Well, maybe. I don't know. I could be wrong. It could be full of poop. But yeah, we're going to talk about how we used to put ice up so that we had ice for our guests for the entire summer.
Yeah.
We had propane fridges, so there was no room for ice cube trays, or we
Nope.
couldn't buy and bring up cubed ice.
Nope.
So we had to cut our ice in the wintertime and store it for the entire
Yeah.
summer. So we're talking about that. It's going to be cool.
Yeah.
It's going to be cool.
It's
Yes.
gonna be cool.
But first, I think we need to talk about this this great question today. We're going to go right into this
Yes.
to the would you rather question follow up.
So I chose smell.
Mhm.
Oh, what were you going to say?
No, I'm in agreement. You go for it, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, lots of things smell really good, but I'm also someone who has a poor, like, stomach and gag reflex, and quite often smells trigger a little heave ho every now and then. And I could probably do without the smells and life. I'd probably try a lot more things
Yeah, probably.
if you think
Although
about
if you
it.
couldn't smell it, you could just eat it.
True. That's true.
True.
But
True.
yeah, I'd
Mine
want
is
music.
also. So would you rather? So you would rather never be able to smell again? Okay, I
Yeah.
want to. No, I'm going to change my answer. Never be able to listen to music again.
I think I know why you're doing that.
Okay. Yeah. So, anyways, still reeling from the passing of my dog. And I'm still really having a really hard time just going through all the emotions of that. I feel like I'm now on the guilt stage of that, where I feel guilty because life is a little bit easier to navigate the day to days. And I'm feeling very guilty about that. Not going to cry. But I remember when my my pupper passed away. I remember I was crying so hard and my nose was so stuffed up that I went into a full panic attack thinking I'm going to forget what he smells like. And so, anyways, I quickly cleared my nose and I wanted to make sure that I could remember the feel of his fur and I could remember the smell that he smelled of because, we all have a different scent.
Yeah,
And I was really afraid of that. So, and that will be a core memory for me. Like so many smells give me core memories.
that's true.
Music does, but I feel like smells maybe a little bit more.
That's
So
true.
yeah, so that's why I'm choosing like a very serious answer as
I
to why
feel
I'm
like
choosing
this is
smell
the
this time.
first time that your reasoning is more logical than mine.
I think this is the first time my reasoning's ever been logical.
That's true.
Like,
And this is not to go back into the topic at all, but this is something
yep.
that we did talk we talked about one time, and I've since talked to people who have lost pets, and they said that you'll never, even if you fear that you'll forget those things, you will never forget those things. I know
No.
people whose pets it's been 5-10 years and they still remember that exact smell and feel and all of that. So if
Right.
that
So
eases your mind a
yeah,
little
so
bit.
I'd rather never be able to listen to music again. I'm okay. I can make up
Yeah.
my own music. Or
Yeah.
what music or whatever it is that the styming that I do that just makes noise. I could just make noise. I don't need music. I can just have
That's
noise. I'm
true.
fine with that. But I don't want to not be able to smell because smell I feel gets embedded into core memories and I want to
Yeah.
keep those core memories. So that's where I'm at.
Dang, look at you
Holy.
go. You just got
Like
really
all
sentimental and emotional on us.
like
What is
grown up
this?
and like mature and serious. Who is this
What
person?
is this nonsense? I,
I don't know. I don't know
I
where
don't know.
this I don't know.
I don't know who she
I
is.
don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, so we're both choosing we would rather
No.
lose
We chose
The
different.
ability, no, you still are going to go with the ability to smell. You would rather lose that.
I think so. I'm sticking with my whole gagging nonsense. I agree with the like core memories and stuff like that, but I think this time I'm gonna take the non-logical route and
Okay.
stay true to my bones
Okay. Stay
and
true. Stay true.
try not to gag everywhere.
I jumped ship. I'm definitely going
Yeah.
to never listen to music again. This question was brought to us by your cousin, Katie,
Yes.
which I love it. It was a great
Yeah,
question, Katie.
it was a good question.
Totally appropriate time for us to talk about it, I think. So thank you so much, Katie.
Yes.
And we're going to throw it out to our audience. Which would you rather do? Would you rather never be able to listen to music again or never be able to smell again? Please let us know. Put it in the comments. Love to hear which you choose and possibly why.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a really good question.
I
Ainsley, if
liked it.
people want to leave us a would you rather
If
question,
you want
how
to
do they do
send
it?
us a would you rather question, and I highly recommend that you do send us a would you rather question, you can leave it in the comments below. You can message it to us through either the Second Saturday accounts or personal accounts if you know us. Dun dun dun. And yeah, across
Dun, dun, dun.
any platform you can send us your question.
Love that. So we always love to answer yours more than we like to find them ourselves. So please, if
Yes.
you can, make sure you drop us
Because
something. We would love
that
to
is
discuss it.
about someone's only job and she often forgets to do it. So,
I don't
if
want
you
to do
guys
it.
could send us the questions, you'd be helping her out because her workload is oh so heavy with this podcast.
Settle down. Oh my gosh. Can't even with you. I actually typed some stuff today.
She
I
did.
did some typing.
I pulled up the document and I said,
I
"Whoa,
did it.
it's
I
done."
did it.
It's
Like,
crazy.
and podcast related, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, not new job related. I podcast related.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did it. Did
So,
it.
she did
Okay.
it.
There we have it. Lodge
Uh,
Life Deep Dive.
Whoa,
This is a really cool
elephant in the room.
one.
Elephant in the room. We're
Why,
twinning.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what it could be.
I have no idea
I
what you are
wonder.
talking about.
I'm pondering this thought.
Who's twinning today?
We're twinning.
We're
Twinsies.
twinning.
Yeah. Someone decided to
Yeah, why
copy
not,
me.
Tay? I did.
I looked so
I did.
stylish today. She was like, I need to look like
Mhm.
Ainsley.
Need to be there. While I'm here at work, I brought 3 sweaters. That was it. 3. So you'll probably see them over a couple podcasts. But this was one of them, and I thought awesome. If Ainsley's
That's
got hers
fun.
on,
That's
I'm wearing mine too.
fun. Look at that. Look at that.
I have a
Okay.
lot of noises coming out of me today. Not really sure.
I do as well. I had work today and that starts at 7 a.m. And with that, like people are fun and talking, but like for the most part, you're just each in your own aisle, doing your own thing. So that's about 4.5 hours of no talking. And that's a lot. That's a lot for
Slot.
little old me.
Slot.
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 Oh,
Slot.
this
I
is
almost
just
drilled when I said that.
Schnot.
Slot.
Yes.
Yeah, today, I don't know. I'm just in
I don't know.
the noise making.
It's one of
I don't
those
know.
days. It's one of those
One of
days.
those days. All right.
Anyways, let's
Okay.
focus.
So twinning today. Lodge Life Deep Dive. Ice Hall.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess we should talk about how do we even get to
Well,
the
I feel like we
I
have
don't even know how to
briefly
start this.
discussed like in past Lodge
Yeah.
Life episodes, we've kind of briefly discussed how we had to like keep ice at the lodge. Like and I think our last
Yes.
Lodge Life was talking about like our appliances that we had. And so we did talk about
Oh,
how
yes.
small the fridges and things like that were.
Yep.
But essentially with having propane fridges and no space, kind of like you mentioned earlier, there was no room for ice and we needed ice because people had to keep their coolers cold to take like fish back home with them just to keep their food cold because again the fridges were small so
Yeah.
any drinks they brought usually stayed in a cooler rather than the fridge
Yeah.
and so like ice is just essential to have especially in the summer. It's hot out.
Yeah.
You need ice.
And it was a tough commodity.
It was. I know at our first
Yeah.
lodge, well, we were still there. We did have an ice maker because we had the generator and solar power.
Well, there's a reason behind that. The very
Oh,
first, I feel like the first or second years that we had it, we did put ice up, and then I feel like it was maybe the third year that we had it. And your dad and his cousin went to snowmobile up to put ice up that
Oh,
year, but they were cutting it close to it being
yeah.
more spring than we needed, and they had to cross the river in a couple spots, and the river was wide open.
Yeah.
So I think your dad tried to cross the river, and I believe then this is a story and a half too, but I
Yeah.
believe the distance of the river was like 24 feet across, and your dad made it like
Well,
22 and a half feet.
because
And
my uncle had made it across. He was on the other
no,
side
it
waiting
was your
for him.
dad.
I could have swore they were
Was
both
it?
on the
Nope.
same side.
No, it was your dad. And then your uncle went back to get some
A
type
boat.
of boat. There was a boat
Oh
overturned
yeah,
and
on
down
third.
farther in the creek.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So they were going to
yeah.
try and boat it. Anyways, however they did it, my husband was able to get the snowmobile out. And however it stopped where the compression for the motor
Yeah,
kept the
he had
water
like hit
out
the kill switch right before it went underwater. Anyway,
because he
that's a
jumped over
whole
the windshield.
story.
It's a
That's a
whole
whole
story.
story on its own.
So we did that. Needless to say, we didn't get ice put up in time that year. So we did go out and buy a commercial sized ice maker.
Yes.
And so we did have like just a commercial sized one for a few years. And then when we moved over to the kind of on your um, like light housekeeping one,
Yeah.
we continue to put ice up. So that means that you have
Yes.
to get there in the wintertime. So there was a couple different years. We owned a bombardier for a small time as
Yeah.
well. So we would either go up with the bombardier, or after we sold that, it was a lot easier just to do snowmobiles with sleighs.
Yeah.
Um, and then it was a great big thing. Like it was a community based event for a while, even before we owned the lodge. When we were first purchasing it, we did the ice haul with the people that previously owned it, and it literally was a community event. It was a thing
Yeah.
that everybody did. They stayed overnight. There was a bit of beveraging involved, and it was a really fun time. We kind of shortened that down after a few years where we just did it as a family.
Yeah.
And so we would snowmobile up and we would take sleighs with us. And generally, we probably stayed over, but we didn't have to, which was nice.
Yeah,
So
no, I think we
once we
usually did
got
stay
there,
over just
I
because
feel like when it
you're
was just our
wet and
family of
cold.
four, we
Oh yeah.
did. Yeah.
But I feel like
And it was
even
kind
when
of a fun
everyone, I don't know.
little,
Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of a fun little, weekend getaway up to the north,
Yeah.
just, and we could talk about that another time too, because those were actually quite fun now that we talk
Yeah.
about
I
it.
mean, I never liked so we'd have to snowmobile up, which takes was it longer or about the same length of time? I feel like it was
About the same length of
about
time.
the same length. So, but it wasn't like the nicest ride up there. Like you'd think, oh, it's snow, it's fine. No, because you had your three lakes to cross, which those were fine, like snowmobile paths all the way down those. But then the river was
Yep.
quite often because the river had moving water in it. There was quite often a lot of open patches, and especially for us, like we never drove a snowmobile up. We always were riding, and I'd be so
No.
terrified on the back of that thing. I was like, we're not gonna make it over. And then from part of the river as well, you're in the bush and you're like up on these hills, and it's just like that
Yep.
river section was absolutely terrifying. Even if it was like 100% safe, you were still like, oh my god, this is the end. It was just,
Yeah, because
I hated that part.
there were a couple spots in the river because it was twisty and turny, and some parts of the river didn't freeze at all over the winter, but there was a few spots that did. And once you kind of
Yeah.
made a path, packed it down, you were good. But then we had to get onto an old rail bed as well. Do you remember
Yeah.
that?
Oh,
And
I
it was
do. You'd have
washed
to.
out in that one
Oh.
area,
Mm-hmm.
and it was
Because I
deadly.
hated it. I
It
hated
was
having to
only
go up through the trees and stuff because it was just all in these hills. It was oh no, no.
Yeah, it was about, I want to see, maybe 6 feet wide, where we had to like wide, and then we had to go down this really
Yeah.
bad washout area, and it was treacherous, but
Yeah.
we made it every time. Never had an accident, never had an issue, thank
Nope.
goodness. So yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to get there.
Yeah.
And then once we got there, when we'd have to find a spot in front of the lodge to figure out where we're going to cut this ice out of the lake.
Mhm.
And so once we did that, then we would either drive the bombardier or we would drive the snowmobiles over it and just like rip through it, because obviously you've had what, 5 months of snow,
Yeah.
and it's all hard and compacted. So we would kind of just rip around it just to kind of loosen it up. And
Yeah.
for the first few years, we did dig it out. And that's painful because you're digging through several feet of snow
Yeah.
just to get the ice. And then we got smart. We bought a snowblower and we brought it up in the summertime, and then we kept it covered and kept it to the side where we could easily access it in the
Which was
wintertime, and
also
then we brought
nice
that out.
because if we did go up in the winter, like you'd drive around the cabin and stuff with the skidoos as well to kind of make a trail because
Make a
it
trail.
was it was just like feet and feet and feet of snow. So the snowblower was kind of nice because at least you could like snowblow like from the outhouse to the cabin like a little path, so you weren't like trudging through the snow.
Like mid thigh deep
Yeah,
just to get to the outhouse. Yeah, you're right.
yeah,
I forgot about that.
yeah. But like I don't remember like the first good like for most of it I don't remember because like my brother and I were quite like we were I was what 15 when we were finally done with the lodge, so like up until those last
Yeah.
like 5 years maybe had I actually helped. So prior to that like we would just kind of go do our own thing because you're cutting a huge hole in the lake and you're hauling like
Yeah.
these ice blocks that weighed more than us. Like we wouldn't have been much help especially when we were
No,
younger. But I do
no.
remember helping out like afterwards when we got a little bit older and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you end up and you cut it, you snow blow off a big patch of ice,
Yep.
probably, oh gosh, I would think what, 30 by 30 feet, maybe
Some
30 by
huge.
40 feet. It was pretty big. Like it was a big area, right?
Yeah.
And
And then
so,
dad
yeah.
had rigged up because like we it's kind of cool because at the lodge and even at our house we have like the old ice saws that people would
Mm-hmm.
use, like the big ones, but he had kind of rigged up a chainsaw, like almost like a lawnmower version of a chainsaw,
Yes.
so that he could like
Yes.
just walk across because the ice was thick enough that you could make your first cut across and like the ice blocks wouldn't just fall through. Because usually you'd get
No,
like the first chunk,
it was too
like
thick.
the
Yeah.
blocks are probably like what, almost a foot deep, like a foot by a
Well,
foot
18
almost.
inches, like whatever the
Yeah,
chainsaw bar is. I think a chainsaw
yeah.
bar is 18 inches.
And so you could cut
So,
down that far. So you would cut your grid essentially, and then cut all
yep.
those, and then you
Yeah.
could take all that ice out, and there'd still be ice underneath.
The water it wouldn't fill up with
Yeah,
water. Yeah. So what he did was there was a gentleman in town who rigged up, welded together this little attachment that would attach to the chainsaw. And then, yeah, you could, instead of having to hold it like this and push it like you're bent
yeah,
over and you're trying to like cut through the ice, you could just tie the throttle on and
yeah,
then just go ahead and push this bar and stay upright, which when you're trying to do like a whatever, like 20 by 30 foot area, like, and make
yeah,
it into a grid, not just like the long, like the whole grid. That's
yeah.
if you're bent over, whew, it's hard.
It's a
So,
lot.
yeah, and we used to use vegetable oil for the bar so that it wouldn't like taint the ice in any way. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, I had no
vegetables,
idea.
like,
That's smart.
yeah, yeah. And
That's really
so yeah,
smart.
so then you just,
Cause
it is.
we had a whole
Um,
system. Like it was almost it
we
was really
did.
like a little like a little worker mine type thing. Because we had the snowmobile
Yep.
track. It was just this big loop. Because we'd bring up like especially when my brother and I were a little bit older. Because I do remember having to drive a snowmobile up there one time. But
Yep.
you'd have two or three snowmobiles with sleighs on them, and you made this
Mm-hmm.
loop that loop from the ice hole up onto the land past the ice shed, and then you just drove in circles all day long.
Yep. That's it. Just cutting. So yeah, so you cut the grid out, and then we had these big crowbar type things. And so once your grid's cut, as soon as you can pop and break the first brick, I guess, of ice, because when you're cutting that grid, you're cutting it exactly the same depth
Yeah,
dimension. So then when it finally pops off, it shears off flat. So it actually comes out in a really
yeah,
nice
a nice cube.
like
It's almost like
cube.
cutting a mango. That's the best way I can describe it. You know when you cut a mango and then you
Okay,
have like the
sure.
the thing and you cut it in little squares and then you like pop it inside out. That
Yep.
like just picture that, but as ice, I
Yep.
guess.
Yep.
I don't
That's
know
good.
why that's my example, but that's all I can think of. But like when we would drive
Oh,
up there in the like when we go up there, we'd have all our sleighs would be full of garbage bags full of sawdust and wood chips.
yes. And that's how we covered it. So we would
That's how
pop them
we
out,
insulated it.
right?
Yep.
We'd pop out the bricks, we'd load them into the sleighs,
With
and
these
then we would
huge
do the
ice
kind of, you guys
tongs.
would go round and round,
It was huge
right? And we
ice
had,
tongs
oh,
that you had
ice
to
tongs.
like you'd have to like dig into it and lift it up and then yeah, I think my brother and I were mainly in charge of driving the snowmobiles around.
You were.
And then like
Yeah.
dad was at the ice hole, you were like at the ice shed or something like that. Because you
We
had to
kind of
like
worked together, yeah, for
stack them
sure.
in there nicely because it was a big shed and it was like chock full of ice.
It would have been about 8 feet high with ice. I
Yeah.
want to say
That's a lot of
six to
ice.
8 feet. It was a lot of ice. So yeah, so we would and ice tongs, and you want to talk about the old ones from
Oh
like the
yeah.
early 1900s? Those are the
Oh
ones
yeah.
we used to hook onto your brick of ice and put it up. So we would put it onto the sleighs, take it up to the ice shack, and then your dad is usually the one that did this, and he would put layers of these blocks of ice. And so once he had a layer of ice on, then he would take snow and he would put it on and he would just kind of like push it around so that the snow would fall in between any crevices, because the
Yeah.
key to keeping ice so it doesn't melt is you don't want any oxygen in there. So we would kind of then put the snow in, so it would kind of fill in all the crevices, and then you put the next layer of bricks in, and you would repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat until you got over. It was taller than the both, like taller than us
Yeah.
for sure.
Here's a picture of the ice
And then
tongs
after,
for anyone
look at
wondering.
you go.
I'm
Look at you go.
prepared. Look at me go.
You're so prepared. I
Anyways,
love it.
continue with your story.
Okay, I'm gonna. And I'm sure we probably have photos somewhere, so I don't know if we can add them to the comments or if you can put them in like as an
hmm
after we tape this, if you can throw that in there. I don't know.
I
But
can do that.
anyways, okay. So then once we had this whole shed, and it would have been probably, I don't know, maybe 8 by 8 feet as
It
the
was
size
a
of it, and
big
you're up about
shed.
6 or 8 feet high. Like it was a ways. Then what we would do is you just kept it old school. What worked way back in the early 1900s still worked, and we would use
And
sawdust.
keep in
And
mind, this shed like wasn't insulated really. It like the roof
no,
didn't
it
wasn't
had an
closed
open
in.
roof, like the
Yeah.
roof line,
And the
like the little
ice
triangle
survived.
where the rafters were, completely open
Yeah.
to the air. So in the middle of summer when it's 25 degrees out, that's all open air in there. So then what we would do is after all the ice got put into the ice house, then we would take all the sawdust, and we generally brought up new dry sawdust every year.
Yeah.
You try to reuse as much as you can. And then we would probably put about a foot or so of sawdust over top of all that ice.
Yeah.
And then after that, then we would put just some pieces of insulation of styrofoam just to kind of cover it all as
Yep.
well. And then the one side there was like a false wall inside the ice shack, so that in the summertime when you went in, you opened a door, you could step in about a foot and a half, and then we had a pony wall with like
Just slats.
wooden 2 by 6s that you could
Yeah.
kind of stacked in there, almost like a dam, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
then as you used your ice, you could pull it out, and then you could get closer to the next level,
Cause
so you
like
didn't
the
have to
little
go up
like
and over.
foyer almost had like it had
Yeah,
axes and like the ice
yeah,
tongs because sometimes because we had a stack of milk crates
and
outside
shovels.
because your ice would be
Yep,
covered in sawdust, so you'd have to get your ice, put it in the crate, and then take it down to the lake. But we had like all sorts of tools in there because we had shovels because you'd have to dig through the sawdust, find a
dig
chunk of
through the
ice.
sawdust. Yep,
Sometimes you didn't need the ice to be as big as it was, so we had axes so you could kind of split it in
yep,
half if you wanted a smaller chunk or if you couldn't carry the bigger chunks. And then you get
yep,
your ice tongs, tong them together, put it in your milk crate, take your
yep,
milk crate out of there. Well, you'd have to bury everything, and then you have to go down to the lake
yep.
and rinse off your ice. It was a
So you would
process.
dunk the milk crate in because of all of the, like, it's all
Sawdust.
holy and gritty, whatever.
Yeah,
And after dunking 2 or 3 times, it would have all the sawdust
yeah.
washed off the ice, and then you had it to we had the old ice picks. I always
hmm
think of that movie Basic Instinct, but we had ice picks in every cabin.
Yep.
So you could pick away at it to put it into your drinks, or if you wanted to leave it in a larger kind of block to put in your cooler, you could use it
Yeah.
however you wanted. And it was so cool because it was just like, it just looked like glass. If you had a bit of
It was.
a hard freeze or a poor freeze up, you could find there was a little kind of layer of slush ice.
Yeah.
But if it was if it froze nice before there got a lot of snow on the lake, man, it was just like a perfectly like cube. It looked like glass. It was crazy, crazy, crazy neat. And so that's what we did. And then obviously after we cut all this ice out of the lake,
Yeah.
we wouldn't just leave that, because if anybody ever was to like snowmobile up and they didn't realize that that was there, we didn't want them to
Oh.
kind of like do a little dive. So then we would just reflood the hole when we were done. We
Yeah.
would just poke through it until the water started coming up, and we'd reflood it. And yeah,
It
man,
was
that
quite the
was
process.
it was quite the process, but it was hard work, like because they're flipping heavy.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
You'd be
but you
sore.
just took the day. You waited for a nice
Yeah,
day
there
to go
wasn't
up
a
and do
huge
it.
rush to do anything.
No.
And
Nope, we
eventually,
just
we
picked
also
away
got
at
to
it.
the point that I think we would stay for 2 days because eventually
Yeah,
we just discovered. Well, so we had a trail behind the lodge that went back in the bush just of years of cutting down wood and stuff like that. But then we
yeah,
kind of ran out of good trees. And so then we
yep.
would go and cut trees and put them in the boat and stuff like that. But then we figured out,
Hmm.
oh, if we stay an extra day, we can drive
Then we got
across
smart.
flat water because it's frozen. You have to have a boat that's wobbling, and we would cut
Yep.
trees, like just cut them into chunks, like we wouldn't
We
split or anything.
we would fall them somewhat onto the ice a little bit, and then
Yeah.
we could buck them up right
And
there.
then we'd put them in the snowmobile and drive away again. So
Yep. And then
we,
we
we
could
got
haul
smart
up
with that.
all the big logs, and then when we got there in the spring, or we waited to the fall generally,
Yeah.
just so that it would draw out really good. So then it would be sitting there all summer long, and then the fall before we left, we would buck all that wood up and stack it and store it so that every cabin had wood
Yeah.
for the summer.
Here, I
But
have I'm going to share my screen for a second. I have
oh, okay,
part of a video that shows what the ice house looked like. Not the inside, but
ever
just the
cool.
outside of it.
Okay.
Where the heck did my button go?
And while you're pulling this up, I would just like to mention that we would do this. Yeah, there it is there. So you can
Yeah,
see
so
the little,
this is what the hut was.
yeah,
It's a
it was
whole
like a 10 by
video
10
if we
foot
ever
building.
want to show what the lodge looked like.
That's so
But
cool.
yes.
And you can see like it's open underneath the roof so that there was good ventilation.
Yeah.
And so we would put this up in generally like February or March, usually March
Yep.
when the weather was a little bit better. And when we were ready to go home in October, like late September, early October. So then, as you use up all your ice and all of your sawdust comes to the bottom, well, then you got to dig it all out so that you can start again because you don't want to have lumpy. You want to make
Yeah.
sure that's nice and level so that when you go back in the wintertime, you can go ahead and start stacking for the next year. But when we would dig that sucker out in late September, early October, we were still pulling out full chunks of ice
Oh
some
yeah.
years. Like it just
You'd
like
have
that's
to pull
crazy
it
to
out
think.
and let it melt.
Yeah, like it would sit there for months and months and months. Like
Hmm.
crazy that it never like it's just the neatest. You know what? If it's the old saying, if why reinvent the wheel if it's already working? Like it was
Oh,
so primitive and old
exactly.
school prospector-y the way that we did it, but it worked
It
like a
did
charm.
work.
It was awesome. And guests really loved the novelty of going in and hacking out their chunk of ice and having it, and knowing that it was like we brought it in from the
Yeah.
freezer. Like it was such a novel thing. It was
It
really
was
cool.
it for them it was. For us, as being the
Well,
children of the family, if you had family or friends up, even if you didn't have family or friends up, you were the guinea pig who had to go get the ice. And my brother
yes.
and I would always like argue over who had to go get it or who got the last chunk because you'd have to go in there, and often we're wearing like shorts and stuff, and especially if you're a little human being, you can't just dig over top of that half wall. You have to climb into the sawdust, especially near the end of the summer when there's less ice in there and you have to go digging. And then you're covered in sawdust. You have to go down to the lake, bring it up so you can give it to your dad. Oh, but then like that wasn't even
It's a
the
rough
end. You
one.
you take the chunk of ice to your cabin, and if you want ice for your drink, there were ice picks in the cabin, and you'd have to chip off a
Yep.
chunk of ice from the block.
Hmm. We
It was a
did.
process.
We also used it for consequences. Ainsley, remember ice bum?
Oh, I remember Ice Bum. Ice Bum was rough, people. Ice Bum was
You're a
rough.
little you kind of monitored just how big of the chunk of ice was that you had
Yeah.
to have for your consequence, because that's
Eh,
got a little cray cray.
it could get.
But I love it. Yeah, so that
Yeah.
that essentially was what we used to do to haul ice and have made sure we had ice for the entire summer, where we
Yeah.
lived on in the middle of nowhere, and with no electricity, like no electricity needed for that. It was crazy,
Nope.
just
It
crazy.
was, yeah, it
Just
was
old
really
school
crazy.
sawdust, an old shed, and ice tongs. That's it.
I
It
know
was
I know
crazy.
we have photos of it, so I'll get those photos and
Yeah,
put them up for you guys.
yeah, please
Because
do.
it really
I'd love
was
that.
like quite the experience.
Oh, it was so cool. It was cool. Yeah, and I mean, guests just ate it up. They just loved
Oh
the
yeah.
fact that we did that, and we'd have lots of friends be like, "Oh, what are you doing it? Like, I'll come up too."
Yeah.
And it was always like a big event. Like, just up until the last couple of years, where just the four of us, just we just boot her up there and come back. But there
Yeah.
were lots of times, my God, there would be over a dozen to 18 people that would
Oh
come
yeah.
up to put up ice,
There's lots of
and
times that like just like the men would go. They'd go up there for their
Yes.
day trip. Woohoo. To go
Yep.
do their manly things.
I would make a giant vat of chili and homemade buns that I would send. And and then all the liquor that they needed because apparently you need a fair bit of liquor. Not gonna lie, you need a little
Hey,
bit of liquor to put up ice sometimes.
sometimes you do. I remember
So
one time
some
they made it was just the guys up there and they took the ice blocks and made like a little like a nook shook type person. I remember
that's
that.
so
And they put like a
cute.
toque on him and stuff like that of the ice. I think there's a photo somewhere.
I
Anyways,
don't remember that, but I'll believe it.
yeah. Hey.
I'll believe it for sure. Faux show. So yeah. So anyways, kind of a really different old school thing that we used to do, and that
Yeah.
was just kind of what you did. You had to do it to have ice. So
Did
if
we
anybody has any
ever
questions about that,
was there ever a year where we ran out of ice?
no,
No?
no, never,
Oh, look at that.
nope,
Also, going back to
never.
the ice machine we had, because we didn't go up that winter to get ice, did we have to, I don't know if I'm like just making this up, but did we have bags and we'd bag ice for the guests at the other camp? Because I feel like I can
We would
remember
sell
having to
bags of
bag
ice.
ice. Ah, that's what it
Yeah,
was.
we would bag it for us so that we could keep going because
Yeah,
with a full American plan, we would always make sure there was ice in
yeah.
their cabins when they got off the lake so
But I
they could
feel
have a
like I can
drink.
remember making bags of ice to give to guests.
Well, we had it, and if guests needed it, we could give it to them. Is it like if they
I
wanted
thought
in the
that
evenings, they
machine was the
wanted.
coolest thing ever. I'd go in there and take ice cube and eat it.
We had a freezer right beside that because we had a generator there. So we would make the ice and throw it in the freezer. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And the freezer
I
was there
do.
for the taking. But
I
it's not
remember.
nearly as fun as,
Nah,
old school.
roughing it.
Old school is awesome. Yeah.
Go get your block of
So if any of you
ice.
big block of ice. Oh, it was the best ice too. It seemed to just
Yeah.
last longer. I don't know what it
It
was
really
about
did.
it,
And
but
I mean, I think the other thing is like we've both mentioned how we don't like water, but like that
yeah,
lake water, I could drink for days.
it was so
Which
tasty.
I know a lot of people think is really gross. I don't care. I think
No,
it was, and I think that's also what made the ice so good because it wasn't just like tap water ice. Like it was just like that true hearty lake water.
also, to be fair, we tried to make ice and ice cubes in the summertime. And I don't know if you remember this, but every time we would go to make ice, we made tried it a couple times, and you would like get the water because you'd pump the water up into your holding tank and put it in there. There's no
Yeah.
there's a natural filtration system which is called the river system itself. But other than that, we didn't have any type of man-made filtration
Yeah.
system on our water. So when we would make ice cubes and we would freeze them, and it would just freeze, and then in the middle of it would just like the total middle of the ice cube would just be this little speck of like
Yeah.
blob of green because the algae that you don't
That's
really see,
true.
but
I
there'd
think
just be
about
a
that.
little blob of green. Remember that? But
But that was
yet, if
never
you
in the
had the ice that
ice.
you cut, it was
Yeah.
never in the ice. No.
Oh, it's like
So
science. Whoa.
it's
It's
sciency today.
science. Oh my goodness.
Ah. My cousin Julie would be all over this. She probably knows the exact terms of all the stupid stuff that we're explaining.
Oh yeah.
So
There's
Julie, if you're
definitely a
out there, pipe
smarter
in.
term for the word algae.
Yes. Well, algae's like
I know.
technical term, but like the
There's
reason why
definitely a
it
smarter
forms
one
in the
though.
middle. Come
Well,
on,
cuz
Julie,
that would be
show up
because
for us.
that freezes last.
Yeah, could be.
That's
Hey, just
just
kind of
that
pushes it all to the middle.
I don't need a scientist to know that one. It freezes from the outside and works its way in.
It does.
So, I don't know.
It does.
I
You're
don't
so
know.
smart, Ainsley. You're so
I
smart.
know. I'm so
Love
smart.
it. Awesome. Well, if anybody has any questions about lodge life or the ice hall, throw it in the comments. Let us know if you
Yep.
have any burning questions as to wait, what? How was this? What did this do? This is crazy tomfoolery. And like I said, if we can find some photos of it, we will
Yes.
definitely upload them so you can kind of see those as well. Yeah. So that's what we got, Ainsley. Are we weather reporting it today?
It's fall out, guys. It is
It's
full fall. We are now having a few more gloomy days, but right now,
okay.
otherwise, like it gets up. We're still in the double digits every now and then. Just putting that
Ooh.
out there. Double digits.
I would like to report that where I am located in Manitoba, we're still at like between like -5 and +5 during the day. We do
Oh,
not have a speck of snow yet, and we are already like into the first part of November. And there's
Ooh.
no leaves or anything, but we do not have a speck of snow yet.
Woo!
So I'm very happy to report that
That's nice. That's fun.
that hasn't been what's happened in the past. No,
Yeah. No, definitely not.
no, no.
Definitely not.
Other than the ice storm that we had, but all that snow dissipated. And now we don't have any snow yet.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not sad about
Oh
that.
yeah. Yeah.
Just say it.
Just
All
saying.
right, Ainsley. Well, let's end it there. That was a great discussion about lodge life.
Yes.
It just, the memories come rolling back so hard the more we talk.
I know.
It's
I
quite
miss
incredible.
it, which is weird,
I
but I
do
miss
too.
it.
We say that every time we finish one of these two.
I
Like, oh
know.
man, I missed the lodge. It was so awesome.
I've been, like more and more in my life now things happen or like I like a smell or a sound and I'm just like man like as much as it like it had it's like ups and downs like I miss being up there.
Yep, for sure. The pros and
Yeah.
cons to it. Yep,
Yeah.
for sure. I do too. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
All right, well, Miss Twinny, we're going to leave it there. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Second Saturday.
Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the little notification bell. We're here every Sunday.
Every
Boo, 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 boo,
Sunday, every
boo.
Sunday,
Mm, mm,
every
mm,
Sunday.
mm.
Yes, and so hopefully Ainsley will leave some footage for you to view about the lovely ice hall. And we'll leave it at that. And we hope you enjoy your Sunday, and we will see you next Sunday.
Bye.